Hi everybody, it's me, it's Thursday. It's time for The Ancient Magus Bride, Season 2, Episode 11. Small leak can bring down a large ship. 1. Now, this one has a lot of intrigue. Now, we kind of start off with Philomela. She seems to be a very focal point in this show. I don't want to make this reference. I know you guys, anyone who's seen my video, knows I made a lot of Fate Stay Night references regarding Philomela's grandmother. Like she's like a Zokin. Well, Philomela does kind of act like not in the same way. Excuse me. Not in the same way. Not, it's like the same kind of character type, but it's not in the same exact way. But we see her in the beginning of the episode, and she's saying that it has faded. And she's referencing the potpourri that Chise had given her. After that scene, it's basically about Lucy. And Elias makes a good point stating that if it wasn't for Chise, Lucy probably would have died. Now, Elias is telling her to stop getting involved. Saying now she wants to help her and blah, blah, blah. And Elias is saying how he has his friend, the senator, as well. So he's getting involved. He does. Him and the caterpillar nurse are telling Chise to stop. Now, this comes a big time focal point because later in the episode we see her with that centaur that showed him that secret passage, and he basically referenced to her one word: patience. But she's too quick to action. She gets in these dangerous situations that could very well lead to her death, and she's just too quick to act. That seems to be like the focal point with Chise. Now, Chise agrees to not get involved too hard, and she goes on her way to class. And then she bumps into Philomela. And Philomela tells her about her potpourri faded, and she's going to make her more. Now, it's kind of funny when you see the relationships in this show, because not all the students got to flesh out in this season. Like that Veronica character, she was just like thrown to the wayside. Like the show really focused on Lucy Webster and Philomela Sargent. Those two were the focal point in this season. And we see Chise's with her, and she's basically making the potpourri kind of thing. And, you can see that Philomela does care about Chise, as we see later in the episode. But, I'm not saying it's her fault what's going on here. It's really her grandmother. At least that's the whole gist I get from this. Now, besides that scene, we get this funny scene with Zoe. He goes to Lucy's bedside, and Lucy wants to touch his snakes. Which basically is kind of a weird situation, but it kind of makes sense. Because she then starts talking to him about the spiders she had. Spiders, snakes. you know. They both begin with S, I guess. You know, what have you. But she's able to touch it and then she falls asleep. That's kind of an interesting scene. After that, she tries to leave Lucy. They try to stop her because she's going to go to her job, which is basically this place called the Waste Tower. And she's usually there with a professor and such. But they stop her from doing this. And instead, what ends on happening is Zoe and Chise and a few others go there instead. Before that scene, though, I forgot to mention, there is a scene with this extra class that they take, which is called, for specifically, rune sorcery. If you play D&D or any one of those sorts, you know that rune sorcery is basically the writing of symbols to make something magical and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. They reference it in the show, basically stating about that has to do with writing, has to do with protection magic, that sort of thing. We also find out in this episode that literally their magic's getting drained by whatever this thing is, and it's continuing draining them. Now, another thing that happened was that Elias tried to find a source. Didn't work. He couldn't find a source of where it was going. But chances are it's probably female Zokin. But the other thing that happens in the episode is, I mentioned the centaur. He went with Chise to give those dogs meat, you know, sheep. And this conversation goes into the line of, you know, how she is perceived, how he tells her to be patient, how are you going to, what if those dogs didn't take the meat? What would you have done then? All these questions to illustrate that she's too quick to action. And sometimes in a very difficult and dangerous situation, you need to really think about your surroundings. You need to be patient and think instead of just going headstrong. But that's basically how that conversation goes. And he references saying that I'm not your friend, I'm not your parent, but, you know, he gives her advice. And she understands and she, you know, goes on her way. We also have a scene with Silky. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty short. But the main meat and potatoes here is that later on, they go to the Waste Tower and they see Philomela. And they bump into this guy named, I didn't catch his name, but I believe his name is Fabio? Fazio? I'm not really sure. I believe it was Fabio, though. But he is very mysterious. He's wearing a hood. He takes the hood off. He's got these goggles on. And he's about to open the door. And then Philomela just looks at Chise and says, watch out for him. Stay away from him. So even though it's obvious that Philomela is involved in the situation, she's still giving advice to Chise. She's still trying to look out for her in certain aspects. Now, this was episode 11. There's probably only one more episode left. Now, I've got to say it's probably going to go down. They fight this guy. They stop the draining of magic. We also have another scene also I forgot to mention with the principal. She reads a letter stating that Philomela wants to out of the college. Drop out. But those are basically the tidbits of what really happened in this episode. So really, and we do have a scene also with Lucy and this other professor who was going to go with her to the Waste Tower, realize that everyone else is in trouble. So it's obvious that this guy, he works for... It is pretty clear. Philomea's grandmother, female Zokin, get used to it, that's what I'm calling her, is the one draining people's magic. It's not that hard to figure out. It really isn't. She's the one doing it. Because if you think about everything that has transpired, Philomela being with this guy, it's not really hard to figure out. Now, I'm pretty sure next week's the final episode. So it's probably going to go down where they're going to have to fight this guy. And Chise's going to get involved. And it's like, Alice is trying to be like, oh, no, this is an adult thing. And yeah, well, where were you in this situation? We do see in the preview for next week's episode, we do see Elias doing something, I believe. But most of the things that are happening involve the group that are with this guy. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but it seems like he's like got bug hands. I think. I can't be too certain, but that's what it seems to be. Overall, I like this episode. It really emphasizes more character development for Chise, her relationship with Philomela, relationship with Lucy. It really rounds off a lot of things really nicely for leading up into what seems to be the final episode of the season. So I'm kind of upset, though, that we didn't get any more development or depth with the other students. Like, I think her name was Victoria and everybody else. But really, the show is focusing on Chise, Philomela, and Lucy. Those are the characters that they need to focus on. Because those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that are going through the most strife in this season. But I enjoyed it for what it was this episode. Not going to give it a crazy 10 out of 10 because, like I said, not too much happened. It was also really just set up. But I thought that logistically I would say 9 out of 10 by how it was set up and how it was delivered. But yeah, that's all really I have for you guys. Now, I know I keep bringing out these Gundam discussion videos. Off topic here. I might do another one tomorrow night. It's going to focus on the rise of characters and the fall of characters. You'll see. But like I said, this is Bankai 922. Man, this was... Come on, Chise. You gotta be patient. You gotta be patient. And she's gotta... We'll see how this ends. I'll see you guys later. Peace.